Hi guys, this is Ruben. I'm the project steward of Zcoin, and I'm just going to run you through a bit of Zcoin's roadmap for 2020, mostly on the development side and like technical side, and just run you through a bit of what our blog post is all about. So you'll see that it's divided into three different sections. One which is the 2020 roadmap, and then there's about the ones that are in discussion and evaluation, and lastly those that are in future and research. So those that we put under the 2020 roadmap, we're quite confident that we can complete in this particular year. The ones that are in discussion and evaluation are things that we're thinking about, and we're seeking community feedback for that. Some of them may appear in 2020, some of them may not, but there are links to all the relevant discussion forums to make sure that your opinion is heard. The last ones are futures and research, where these are things that we've done some maybe preliminary work on, mostly at the idea stage and concepts stage. Stuff like Aura and cross-chain bridges, we do have already some academic papers and documentation on that we are working through, but the rest are merely no coding work has started on that, and that's just merely on the brainstorming concept level. So let's first of all just go through the 2020 roadmap. So for those of you who don't know, Lelantus is our big next-gen privacy protocol. It's actually named after the Titan god of the air and moving unseen. And the beauty of Lelantus is that it allows you to burn coins and redeem coins, and unlike currently what Sigma and Zcoin does, you can do it with any arbitrary amount. You can burn 576.54 coins and then redeem only 0.23 coins. Previously you had to do it in fixed denominations, burn 10, redeem 10, and Lelantus does this by hiding amounts with an additional blinding factor, and there's no requirement for trusted setup. There is very efficient simple cryptographic constructions, making it very easy to audit, meaning people can implement and look through the whole construction relatively easily. And there's no trusted setup, unlike Zcash and certain other ZK Snarks constructions as well. Now the next thing about is what we call direct anonymous transactions, and remember we're talking about the destruction and the redemption of coins. Now direct anonymous transactions further allows you to pass the right to redemption to someone else. So that means when I burn, I don't have to redeem it for new coins. I can pass that right to redeem to someone else. So this is actually in the second paper, so you can take a look at Lelantus.io. We have fully described it. We're still fleshing out the security proofs of that, but we're quite confident that it's secure. This will also require a new type of addressing system. That means now we just have Zcoin addresses. There will be a new type of addresses to support this type of transaction system. Receiver address privacy is actually, the code's actually already done. It hasn't been merged to the master right yet, because there's certain infrastructure upgrades that we want to do right now, and it allows you to share one address publicly, and it kind of works like stealth addresses, except that it has certain benefits. For example, payments to receiver address privacy can't be distinguished from any other payment, so that also adds additional amount of privacy. So the code's almost done here. Actually, it's all done. It's been reviewed. I think it's already been ported to our new infrastructure. We're just waiting for the right time to release it. Now, one of the things that has been taking a lot of time is our Znode infrastructure. As you know, Znodes are basically master nodes, and previously, we were adopting the old way of doing master nodes, which was using master node lists, which were lists that were not really tied directly to the blockchain. And what that sometimes did was this list can actually fall out of sync with each other. Like there may be conflicts as to which is the correct list, and that leads to certain network fragmentation and a bunch of other potential vulnerabilities. So the best way to deal with this is actually to tie the masternode registration and who should get paid to be directly tied to the blockchain, and this is where deterministic masternodes come in. From a user standpoint, you probably wouldn't see so much effect, but on a stability standpoint, or from a infrastructure standpoint, it is a very, very important building block, and this would allow like a very stable masternode infrastructure. LLMQ, or long-lived masternode quorums, is built on deterministic masternodes, and basically it allows like traditionally the masternodes only had quorums of maybe like 10 masternodes or something like that, which makes it not as Sybil resistant as we would like. And long-lived masternode quorums allow for larger quorums of up to maybe even 400 that does so relatively efficiently. And because deterministic masternodes is a much more stable system, we can also do LLMQ. So it builds on each other. And again, this is an infrastructure upgrade. You wouldn't see in terms of user experience, but it much improves security and scalability. Chain locks is a very interesting thing. It also builds off the masternode infrastructure, and because with smaller chains, we want the kind of the benefits of distribution or proof of work, but at the same time, being a smaller chain, especially with GPU mineable, that makes us more susceptible to 51% attacks. And to kind of counter this, we're kind of combining the best of like a proof of stake and proof of work model, where to attack and do a double spend, you will need to do a 51% attack on the mining side. And on top of that, you would also need to compromise a significant proportion of the master nodes. So that's quite remote. It requires a lot of resources to do that, and and I guess it's great to have that combination of distribution and proof of work with kind of similar security to chain locks. Now chain locks also allow for much more reliable instant transactions, so that's something that we're also really excited about having. Now let's move to tokenization platforms. So Zcoin is not just a privacy digital currency. You can actually build tokens on top of it, and that means you want to launch your own token, and similar to Ethereum ERC20 token. And the problems traditionally was that like say an ERC20 token, you don't have much privacy, and you have to code it from scratch or make your own chain. The idea of basically Zcoin is or Elysium, which we previously called Exodus, but we renamed it just to avoid confusion with the existing Exodus wallet, and also it has a special meaning within the Omni layer. So we have called it Elysium, which is kind of like Greek heaven, which we thought was apt because it was like a layer on top of the Zcoin layer. So that's how we see it. This is almost complete. I believe we should be putting the final touches in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and you can use this for either like creating your own privacy tokens or privacy stable coins, or you can even use it to do your own voting applications. And the great thing is that it inherits all the privacy features of Zcoin, meaning Dandelion, Sigma privacy. That's all. You can turn it on, and it's already there. I don't think any other token platform has this right now. We also have to make it easier for people to manage these tokens. We also have created a rich API to ease the management of tokens on the Elysium level, and this is called ZTM. I think that's already more or less done. The code is ready, and it's also linked on our website. Now to the user experience, we've been using a Qt wallet. We wouldn't be we won't be, depreciating it completely, because there are certain benefits, especially security and privacy benefits, to having a Qt wallet. The rich GUI wallet is built off Electron, and it's JavaScript based, uses the Electron framework and all. It's a lot prettier, it's a lot easier to use, and we think that's more important for the general people, and that's actually, we already have some releases. You can give it a try now, but we are adding additional features like mnemonic seed phrase support. We want faster performance improvements and other things like that, and then we will be proposing this as an alternate wallet on top of our Qt wallet. You can use it if you like, you cannot use it, it's all up to you. We're also working on SPV mode for the GUI, so for those people who don't want to keep like the entire blockchain on their computer, just want a light wallet, the SPV mode for this graphic, for this GUI would also be available. Now, swap capability within the wallet. So I guess the idea is that a lot of people would like to swap their Bitcoin to Zcoin, and Zcoin to Bitcoin, and this just does it directly from the wallet. It will be anonymized, and there's no KYC requirements for the swap capability, and it will leverage off existing liquidity on centralized exchanges. We've of course been looking at like decentralized exchange options, but realistically right now, and the state of the current crypto scene, centralized exchanges do provide a lot of the liquidity, and we want to make sure that the swaps are efficient before maybe moving to a more decentralized model. On the mobile side, this is really important. A lot of people have been asking us that when are we going to see like Sigma privacy support in mobile wallets, and we should have a test app ready in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and rather than coming out with our own, where we're also working together with Edge Wallet. They've been really helpful, and so we don't have to do all the GUI stuff from scratch. Now the interesting thing is that privacy will be on by default, and both iOS and Androids are supported. Backend work's already done, and this backend work is not just for Edge. It can actually be reused for future wallets or even our own native implementation when we can. Now this is the interesting part, which is in discussion and evaluation items, and there's in discussion whether we should move away from MTP as a proof of work algorithm. MTP has served us well, but there's certain drawbacks, whether it's truly resistant against FPGAs, and on top of that, the proof sizes are really large, like 200 kilobytes per block, even though the block is empty, and we feel that's a big waste, and we would like to drop the block time, but at the same time we want to avoid bloat. So we have been looking at a few candidates: ProcPower, RandomX, Improve MTP. It's linked in the discussion, so you can take a look at the discussion, and please weigh in your suggestions before we make a final decision, as we want to make sure that we involve the community in the decision making process. Similarly, we've been talking about this because right now on the current plan, block reward, the block reward for developers, the 6% reward will be disappearing. And what that means is that should our team continue to get funded, should it be just done purely through donations, or should it be done through a percentage of the block reward, and maybe extend that for a bit while we figure out the best way to do this. Our community is currently also deciding on this. The link is also in the thread. Governance is also really important. Like, how do we decide? Because right now Zcoin is I guess a mid cap, but we haven't had like serious governance issues. I think the most recent one was whether to raise the Z-Note requirement, and that we had good feedback on the forums, and as a result the Z-Note requirements will not increase, despite some very prominent whales advocating for it. So I think that's great for governance, but perhaps they need to be more formal mechanisms to make sure that it is clear, rather than just seeking formal feedback, which is kind of subjective. So we're definitely looking into that. Snow globe pre-consensus is also really interesting. So the idea, there's this new kind of consensus mechanism called avalanche, and avalanche allows you to achieve very finality within a few seconds, and there's no protection against reorganization attacks. You have very high TPS, and it scales even with lots and lots of nodes. It doesn't help with distribution, so probably we'll still be going ahead with proof of work, but the idea is to allow avalanche based consensus to provide instant finality, and we are checking to see how does this compare against masternode instance and chain locks. We do think, just right from observing it, Snow Globe seems to be a better consensus mechanism, but at the same time, the code for it is not entirely ready, and it is still remains to be seen how performant it actually is. We're in talk with Ava Labs. We just had a call with them a couple of weeks ago. We have been presented some options, but still very preliminary, and we just want to make sure that we're not rushing into anything. Now, the future, what do we have in store for Zcoin past 2020, or what we have in our research stage? So although we're very happy with Lelantus, they are, we still want to scale its privacy further. Like currently it works with anonymity steps up to 100k, or maybe 64,000, 100,000, but we're looking at ways where we can bring that anonymity set even higher, and we're looking for greater performance and privacy. We actually have some ideas. We actually have an academic paper on hierarchical construction of one of many proofs, which kind of open the doors to much faster proving times and a slight improvement in verification time, but we're still not satisfied. We are also looking at other ways to address stealth addressing in Lelantus, and that's an open problem. So hopefully Aura would be the solution to this. It's still in the early stage. We are not publishing any academic papers for the public yet, but we already have the mathematical constructions for certain building blocks for Aura. Now, just people who want to know why we chose the name Aura, Aura is actually the daughter of Lelantus in Greek mythology, so we thought that was apt. The other thing that we've been looking at is cross-chain bridges. So like with Ethereum, with the whole DeFi thing taking off, whether it takes off or not, but we feel that we don't want Zcoin, we don't want to have too much smart contract capabilities. That opens a lot of attack surface, and as a very small and focused team, we don't want to be best at everything, right? We have to be really focused on privacy, and that's why we believe like having bridges to allow bridging to Ethereum or other kind of smart contract platforms would be very useful. So one of the things that we like, for example, we, rather than expect USDT or USDC or whatever USD stablecoin to build a Zcoin equivalent, instead with a cross-chain bridge you can sort of lock your USDT or USDC in a special smart contract in Ethereum. You bring it into a representative token on the Elysium platform, and you can use that privately, just transfer everything, and you maintain all the privacy features while maintaining that peg. And anytime you're done with that, you just want to convert it back, you can convert it back into the ERC20 equivalent. So we're trying to figure out like the best decentralized way to do this, or even leverage the Znode network to do this, because every time with halving, the Znode percentage and the profitability drops. So this is a potential additional income stream for the Znode network, where you can provide the bridges to this and earn additional income as fees. Now, the next thing that we're covering are mixnets, and mixnets are basically So currently we use Dandelion++ that to hide IP addresses, but the way Dandelion++ works is only changing the way transactions propagate. Makes us a much more advanced in the sense that, you know, there's encrypted data, there's like padding information, there's delays, and all these things introduced that make it offer a much higher level of protection even against state level adversary. This is a network layer protection. It doesn't protect blockchain privacy or the transaction graph, but it prevents your IP address or other metadata from being tied to a particular transaction. So this is something that we're actively looking at as a replacement to Dandelion. We're also looking, of course, at the native Lelantis mobile wallet. No need to say so much on that. Fast sync light client. So SPV is, yeah, it's kind of dated and it's not that fast. There are other ways to do it using ZKP or other types of technologies, and it would allow almost instant syncing with a very small size on your wallet. So that is something that we're really excited about working on, and that's currently in the concept stage while we evaluate several potential implementations on that. The other thing is that, you know, quantum resistance, although we don't think that quantum resistance is anywhere near, you know, it's always good to start looking at the building blocks that build up our privacy protocol and how we can move towards quantum resistance schemes. And we have some work, and then there's some work on lattice-based one out of many proofs. You know, there's no timeline to adopt these things, because usually when you're moving to a quantum resistance scheme, you're giving up a lot of efficiency, and a lot of these schemes aren't as well studied as the current schemes that we have, like, you know, elliptic curve cryptography. I mean, yes, that's not quantum resistant, but people understand it really well, and it's very, very widely adopted. While if you start moving to quantum resistant schemes, you know, that really hasn't like become its industry standard, and we think it makes more sense to have in mind what the solutions are. You know, think of ways that we can make quantum resistance possible in our privacy protocols, but without rushing into anything. So that is a wrap up of our roadmap. I hope everyone's excited as I am, you know, at Zcoin's future. We hope to continue working on this, and remember, you know, we really want community feedback. We want the community to weigh in on the future of Zcoin. So please, you know, there's a link direct to our forums where you can ask questions or make suggestions or give comments on our roadmap. So take care, everyone, and be safe.